So in this next step, we're going to talk about using different types of fills. You can automatically shade shapes in this program very easily. So you guys are going to draw right along with me. You can delete the squares if you still have them. We're going to draw an ellipse first. So I'll take that ellipse and I'm just going to stretch it out into an oval. And then we'll pick a color, maybe a light blue for this one. And then we're going to duplicate it. So you have to have it selected first, duplicate it. And then I'm going to move this over to the side. And you can see how it lines up and centers it. It's exactly the same shape. So I know that that's right centered with each other. And I'm going to select both of these again and duplicate them. And then rotate. You guys remember the rotate option from that. And if you hold shift while you're rotating, see how it locks in at certain angles? So if you don't do that, then you're kind of like, I don't know if it's straight up and down. But if you hold shift, now you know that that's perfectly straight up and down. So on these two, let's hold shift to select both. And let's pick different colors for this one. Maybe we'll do a medium blue for these two. Now I'm going to select all of these again and duplicate and rotate again. And notice I'm holding shift again so that I know that that's at that 45-degree angle. So I don't have to wonder, well, is it right about here? And now I'm going to color these a separate color again. We'll make those dark blue. So now you get a nice pattern that rotates. So to do different fills, so let's say for this petal right here, when I open up my fill option, we haven't talked about these up here. This stands for a solid color. This is a gradient that's linear, so it just goes left to right or up to down. This is radial to make things look like they're curved. And angular, we're not really going to use much with this program yet. We're going to focus on the first two. So this one, let's make a gradient that is linear. So you can see that now it's shaded. If I want to add a different color, you can see that's blue. I can choose anything from over here, and it'll switch it to that color. So maybe I'll make it this lighter blue here. If I want to add another node, these are called nodes on these lines, or it could also be called a stop for a gradient. I'm going to change this to maybe a different kind of a purple color, so I get that soft change. And you can add as many of those nodes or stops on a gradient as you want. So that's a linear one. I'm going to add on this one. We'll make this one a radial gradient instead of linear. So I'm going to go to the fill option. I'm going to go up here and click radial and put a radial on that one. Let's try and make this one radial. There we go. So that one's radial. And you can pull the radial gradient and stretch it in different directions so that if you want dark edges on the outsides and the insides, you can move the whole gradient towards the center. But you can see that there's a light blue spot there. Same thing here. If I wanted to change the amount of lines the amount of colors, double click this, you get a new color in there, and we'll change that. We'll make that one pretty wild with a red. And then it's just a matter of adjusting the lines so that it fits the petal and where you want it to go. Maybe I want the blue spot to be all the way back in the middle. It almost looks like a flame right there. So we're going to change this one, this fill, back to linear. And so when you already have the colors on there, you can switch it just by selecting it. So if we want these wild flame kind of colors to be linear instead of radial, you just click that option and it switches it automatically. I can go back to radial again and I'll put it back where it was. So it looks more like that flame option we had before. So for the rest of this step, go ahead and change all of the colors on these petals to something different. The other thing that you can do is on the border, you can put a gradient on that as well. So if I make the border of this thicker, I'll make it pretty thick this time so you guys can really see it. We'll make it like a, maybe even a 40. Sometimes, especially on text, you're going to want the colors on the outside of the lines, but the inside you'll want solid. So for the border fill, so I'm on borders in this tab. I'm going to click that border option. I'm going to go up and say linear. Now you can see that's not going to fill the inside. It's only filling the border on the outside. It's a great way to make multiple gradients on a shape. So I'm going to make this yellow. We'll make the inside of this one orange to get a nice pleasing transition. And then on the inside for the fill, I'm going to change that to be, instead of blue, I'm going to make this one a radial gradient, and I'm going to make the outside yellow, and the inside we'll make it red. So you can get some pretty cool effects with the stroke or the outside outline, the border gradient, as well as the fill gradient. So go ahead and play around with those for the rest of the petals on your gradient choices.